He taught me how to really play rock and roll. When Bob Weir, someone who has shared the stage with hundreds of music legends over a 60-year career, was asked who the best musician he had ever played with was, his answer surprised many people. Not Jerry Garcia, not the members of the Grateful Dead, but a name that younger generations today may never have heard of. Johnny Johnson, the man who invented a mathematically impossible technique so influential that even Little Richard had to learn from it. And what's even more striking, Bob Weir asserted that much of what we now call modern rock music has lost the true essence of rock and roll. Let's explore this surprising story together. Throughout a career spanning more than 6 decades, Bob Weir collaborated with countless talented artists, from Jerry Garcia to John Mayer, from Phil Lesh to Mickey Hart. But when asked who his favorite musician was, the one with whom he felt the strongest chemistry on stage, Bob's answer left many people astonished. It was not a familiar name to modern rock fans, but Johnny Johnson, a quiet legend who shaped the true essence of rock and roll from its earliest days. This story is not merely about personal recognition. It opens up a deeper discussion about the nature of rock and roll, about the difference between rock and roll and modern rock music, and about what has been lost in the evolution of the genre. To understand why Bob Weir's revelation matters so much, we need to go back to the musical roots of the Grateful Dead. Bob Weir, Jerry Garcia, and the other band members were not simply talented musicians. They had exceptionally strong and diverse musical foundations. They all grew up with the same sources of inspiration, primarily drawn from the rich heritage of American music, from bluegrass and folk to country, blues, and jazz. This was no coincidence. It is why they could connect so deeply on stage, creating improvised performances that lasted tens of minutes while maintaining perfect cohesion. One of the secrets that allowed the Grateful Dead to survive and stay together for more than 3 decades, an extremely rare achievement in the music industry, was their ability to make each other laugh. This may sound simple, even trivial, but in reality, it was critically important. When you spend thousands of hours touring together, eating and sleeping together, and facing immense pressure from both the public and the industry, being able to laugh together and relieve tension through humor becomes essential. Bob Weir once shared that even in the most tense moments, Jerry Garcia could always say something that made the whole group burst out laughing, and that saved countless situations that might otherwise have escalated into serious conflict. But there was one challenge not every band could overcome: playing improvised pieces that lasted 25 to 30 minutes. The Grateful Dead were famous for their extended jam sessions, where the members freely explored melodies, experimented with different rhythms and harmonies, and then seamlessly returned to the main theme of the song. This required an extraordinary level of unity among the musicians, not just technically, but in musical sensibility. Bob Weir explained that if someone in the group with a different musical taste tried to intervene or push the music in an unsuitable direction, the entire performance would collapse and could not be fully recovered. This is why the chemistry among the members of the Grateful Dead was so special. They could communicate through music without words, understanding each other's intentions through a glance or a single note. And now we arrive at the most important moment, when Bob Weir was asked who his favorite musician was that he had ever played with. In an interview, after some hesitation and careful thought, Bob Weir admitted a name that surprised many: Johnny Johnson. For long-time Grateful Dead fans, this was a shocking revelation, as they might have expected Bob to choose Jerry Garcia, his closest partner and co-founder of the band. But Bob's choice carried a much deeper meaning, revealing a great deal about his musical philosophy and about Johnny Johnson's true influence on American music. So who was Johnny Johnson? He was a legendary pianist who played a pivotal role in shaping rock and roll from its earliest days. In the late 1990s, Johnny Johnson worked with Bob Weir's band Rat Dog, and it was during this period that Bob had the opportunity to learn directly from him. Bob Weir openly admitted that Johnny Johnson taught Rat Dog how to play true rock and roll. Something that may sound strange given that Bob Weir already had more than 3 decades of experience in the music industry at that point. But this speaks to Bob's humility and his constant desire to keep learning, a rare quality among artists who have already achieved great success. One fascinating historical detail that many people don't know: Chuck Berry, one of the founding fathers of rock and roll, actually joined Johnny Johnson's band in the mid-1950s. Yes, it was originally Johnny Johnson's band, and Chuck Berry was just a member. But with his songwriting talent and charismatic performances, Chuck Berry gradually became the center of attention, and eventually it became known as Chuck Berry's band. Nevertheless, Johnny Johnson always remained the timekeeper, the musical backbone behind Chuck Berry's immortal hits such as Johnny Be Good, Roll Over Tovin, and Maybelline. Without Johnny Johnson, these songs would not have had their signature groove, the essence of true rock and roll. And that is why Bob Weir respected him so deeply, because Johnny Johnson represented the purest roots of rock and roll, something Bob felt had gradually been lost in modern music. Now we move into the technical side, and this is where things become truly fascinating. Johnny Johnson was famous for a technique that Bob Weir called mathematically impossible. He was the one who invented, or at least perfected, the approach of playing a shuffle rhythm in opposition to a straight rhythm. To understand this, we need to know a little about music theory. The shuffle rhythm has a swinging, smooth feel, with notes played in uneven proportions, often following a long-short pattern. In contrast, a straight rhythm divides notes evenly, creating a more upright and powerful feel. From a mathematical and music theory perspective, these two rhythms should not align. When you try to layer them together, theory says they will clash, creating dissonance. But Johnny Johnson managed to do this impossible thing. He played the piano with a shuffle rhythm, creating a swinging, groovy foundation, while Chuck Berry played guitar with a straighten, bringing sharpness and power. The combination of these two rhythms created a special musical tension, a controlled collision that generated energy and excitement. This, according to Bob Weir, is the true essence of real rock and roll. And interestingly, Little Richard, another rock and roll legend, recognized the power of this technique and learned from Johnny Johnson. If you listen closely to Little Richard's hits like Tutti Frutti or Long Tall Sally, you can hear this very tension, the swinging piano combined with straight driving guitar and drums. Bob Weir went even further by distinguishing between rock and roll and modern rock music. According to him, rock and roll, in its original form, is defined by the tension between shuffle rhythm and straight rhythm. That is the roll, the flowing motion, the feeling of riding a wave. But much of modern rock music has lost this quality. Today's rock bands often play entirely with straight rhythms, creating a sound that is powerful and decisive, but lacking the complexity and depth that original rock and roll possessed. Bob is not saying that modern rock music is bad. It is simply different. It has evolved into something new, but in the process, it has lost part of its soul, part of its connection to the blues and rhythm and blues roots from which rock and roll was born. This is why working with Johnny Johnson meant so much to Bob. It was like a journey back to the source, back to the purest essence of the music genre he loved. To further illustrate Bob Weir's working style, we have an interesting example from his collaboration with Sammy Hagar, former member of Van Halen. In one recording session, Bob and Sammy performed the Grateful Dead song Loose Lucy together. This is a lively, upbeat song that requires tight coordination between guitar and vocals. The performance clearly showed the difference in musical approach between the two artists, and it also revealed more about Bob Weir's perfectionist personality, something not everyone knows. After the performance, Sammy Hagar made some candid and fairly humorous remarks about working with Bob. He said that Bob Weir is a true perfectionist and an even more professional musician than himself. This was not false modesty on Sammy's part. He is an artist who has sold millions of records and enjoyed a legendary career. But he admitted that Bob's level of attention to detail and perfectionism truly amazed him. Sammy explained that his own working philosophy is quite relaxed. If there are a few small mistakes during a performance or recording, he usually chooses to keep going rather than stop. For Sammy, the natural feel and energy of the performance matter more than absolute technical perfection. Bob Weir, on the other hand, has a completely different approach. If he notices any mistake, even a single wrong note, a rhythm slightly out of sync, or a vocal line that doesn't convey the right emotion, Bob often wants to stop and start over from the beginning. He wants to make sure everything is right, flawless, and accurately reflects his musical intent. This is part of the legacy from his days with the Grateful Dead. Although the band was famous for free-flowing improvisation, they always maintained high technical standards and never accepted sloppiness. This difference does not mean one approach is better than the other. It simply reflects two different artistic philosophies. Sammy Hagar represents the traditional rock style, powerful, spontaneous, and full of energy. Bob Weir represents a more refined school, where technical perfection and musical depth are placed above all else. And the interesting thing is that both approaches have produced great music, just in different ways. So we have explored the story behind Bob Weir's surprising revelation when he chose Johnny Johnson as the favorite musician he had ever collaborated with. This is not just personal recognition. It is a profound lesson about the roots of rock and roll, about the mathematically impossible technique that defines the uniqueness of the genre, and about the difference between original rock and roll and modern rock music. Johnny Johnson, a quiet legend, taught Bob Weir and Rat Dog how to return to the pure essence of music, where the tension between shuffle rhythm and straight rhythm creates the signature roll that we love. This story also shows Bob Weir's remarkable humility, an artist with more than 60 years in the industry who never stopped learning and respecting those who came before him. From the bond within the Grateful Dead to his perfectionist working style, Bob showed us that greatness comes not only from talent, but also from attitude and dedication. If you found this story interesting and learned something new about rock and roll, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more surprising music stories. What about you? Do you agree with Bob Weir that modern rock music has lost the role of rock and roll? And who do you think are the musicians with the best chemistry when playing together? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, great music always comes from respect for the roots and an endless desire to learn. Keep on rocking, everyone.